Hello and welcome to this edition of Diaspora Central. I am Gil Ingles, and with us today in the studio, ladies and gentlemen, it's one of the descendants of that tribe that actually, after leaving the continent at first stop, changed the dialect of that African drum. Mr. Sledge
Yes.
is in the building.
Yes, man. So glad to be here with you.
Haiti.
Yeah, new life. We are here. Yeah, it feels good to be here, man. Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
An activist.
Yes. Where do I start? That right there has been a labor of love, really, because you really have to have a heart for the people, for the work.
Indeed.
You know, sometimes, people see people talking on behalf of others, but there's always something behind it, as a motive, or maybe there's an election coming up, maybe there's, something involved on the back end. But true activism comes from a pure heart.
Right.
And a heart of servitude to be able to get up each and every day without receiving anything on the back end.
Indeed.
To speak on behalf of those who can't speak for themselves.
Indeed.
Yeah.
A cultural, social, entertainment promoter.
Yeah, I always say that I wouldn't even really list myself as a promoter per se.
Okay.
I would say that I'm an agent for curating experiences for people. I think life is to be lived through experiences. That's what makes it memorable. And those that are around you in those experiences are what brings fulfillment. Right. So I am a curator of those experiences to expose others to something that normally they wouldn't have a chance to be around or see. Yeah.
An entrepreneur.
Yes.
A successful family man.
Yes. Yes.
A business owner.
Yes. That's a balancing act, within itself, because all those things require time, and for you to grow it and develop, because oftentimes, people see the end product, people see the photos and the nice imagery, but they don't see the process that it took to get that child to graduation, through school, or to have a successful relationship, or to be a successful business person. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of stressful moments, wondering, am I really fit for this? And can I see this through? But when you are diligent and you put the work in, you will reap some type of reward. They say if you shoot for the ultimate sky, the moon, you'll fall amongst the stars, at least the clouds.
Indeed.
So you'll be there somewhere. So that's my philosophy. Keep putting the work in.
And guess what? For an investor in people and society, you are definitely on the right track. Ladies and gentlemen, Diaspora, stand up, because today we have the man that represents the Haitian community, the Caribbean community, the young entrepreneurs from the Caribbean. This man is one of the powerhouses that is definitely injecting Houston with what it is to formulate the successful diasporan in America. Mr. Sledge, not only a pleasure, but definitely a sense of gratitude for accepting our invitation to be here on Diaspora Central. So Diaspora, stand up, because Sledge is in the building. Can we now start our conversation from your infancy?
Yes. Thank you for such great introduction. I really appreciate that, brother. It's, oftentimes people want to have conversations and I hesitate.
Okay.
But with you, it was automatic.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, because of what you stand for what you represent,
Thank you.
and the information that you bring to the community, exposing us to other great individuals and things that are happening. It's a very needed platform that you have, and thank you for being a vessel.
No, thank you, sir.
know,
Thank
for
you.
that.
I believe that is the only mission given to us by God, is to be a vessel of energy to others. And we can choose what energy we transfer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I believe in that.
Thank you.
Well said. So, my infancy, I was, of course, born in IET, Port-au-Prince. I came to the country at a very young age. At the age of 8 years old, we were in Brooklyn, New York, and from there, life was a little tough. You know, my parents, they were just trying to get acclimated to this country. You know, the typical immigrant story where, you know, most foreigners can relate to. And so they were already educated back home. But of course, when you come here in America, you got to go through different accreditations, and maybe sometimes you got to go back to school again.
Indeed.
You know, to meet their standards. So they were diligent. They were able to do that. It's 9 of us siblings total. And in Brooklyn, in Crown Heights, we were in this 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
You know, we all the kids, my siblings, we piled up in the living room.
Right.
You know, it wasn't all 9 of us at that time, but I think it was maybe like 3 of us that were born at that time. But still, it was a very interesting time period. My dad, who is an accountant, became a taxi driver, you know, just to get us through. And then my mom, she is a registered nurse, and she kept on, you know, elevating in that field. And later on, you know, my dad took his turn to finish what he started here in the States. So it was a joint effort to raise these children. And then we ended up in Georgia, Decatur, Georgia at that, because life in New York was just very expensive. So moving down south was a little better. But they instilled in us education. They instilled in us discipline, work ethic, and to always represent yourself in a certain way. And when you step out the house, you're not representing just you. You're representing your family, your siblings, and, you know, people that came before you, even those, our grandparents that were back home, our aunts and uncles. So there's everybody. You're not walking by yourself.
Indeed.
And that just really, you know, stuck with me. So in the house, we were very Haitian, you know, with the upbringing, barely speaking English in the house, you know, which was a good thing. So being able to assimilate into this country was a little hard at first, because, you know, when I open up my doors to leave out in the mornings to go to school, now I got to be American, right? But I'm not being raised that way.
That's the classic immigrant story, right?
Man, so
that's the classic immigrant story. Immigrants and first generation, some second generations also deal with that.
So
that identity balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's why I feel like there's so many similarities between us that are from other places, not because, you know, we understand each other's languages and stuff like that, only because the struggle coming here is very similar.
Indeed.
You know, but nonetheless, my parents did a great job raising us 9. They raised very successful children, and I am the second oldest, but because I'm the boy, you know, they
you are the it.
So
you act like you the it.
But my older sister will put me in my place real quickly.
There you go. She'll keep you in check.
She'll keep me in check. She'll keep me in check.
Yeah.
But
now, if you don't mind, you can share your parents' names, because in all honesty, we like to create a web of names. We never know who's related to you.
Yes.
They might be around here that once they hear the name, all of a sudden be like,
oh, we
he's
know
so-and-so's son.
Yeah. So Miriam and Louis Leonidas is their names. So they're currently in Atlanta, Georgia. They're still in Georgia. So they are proud of their children. They were very strict disciplinarians. We didn't have the best relationship, but I think, you know, if any Haitians or any foreigners out there listening to this program, they're like, yeah, we know this story.
Yeah, we understand. We know.
Yeah.
Because we have to remember, it's a lot of pressure. It was a lot of pressure for them. Because
it was.
One, not only they got to adapt to this new environment, they got to ensure that they're able to protect you and provide for you in this new environment.
Right.
And they themselves don't know what's coming, how it's coming, when it comes. So not only they had to manage themselves, they also had to manage us as children growing up. And to us, of course, this is all we know. So we're thinking that we know and understand everything. So we're trying to run as if we run the world.
And, you know, like before, you know, I came to understanding and having my own children, I used to think that my parents just weren't reasonable people. These people are, I mean, although they did some stuff that were unreasonable, right? But now, as a parent myself, I understand what it is that they were trying to protect and preserve.
Indeed.
Although their methods could have been a little different, you know, but that was to their understanding and what worked for them, what they knew, what their parents did.
Right.
So they brought those same systems here and imposed it on us. I mean, and obviously something worked.
Yeah. Kept you online.
Yeah.
Made you successful.
Right.
You learned better now, and you can change that narrative to a better place.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So aside, I mean, your parents definitely a huge influence on you based on the story that you just told. What about in the community, in schools? Were there any, what elementary school did you go to, middle school and then high school? Were there any teachers or any community members that in your way sort of like helped brighten that star that you could see from afar, that you knew that it was you, but you couldn't quite identify it yet?
There are a couple. I had this teacher. Her name was Miss McIver. Hopefully she's still alive till this day. I don't know, but she was very influential. She was a biology and chemistry teacher, and so I, you know, had a knack for the sciences, and so she saw that before I saw it in myself. My grades were always decent, and there was a summer science program at Morehouse College, and this was like in the 10th grade of high school. This Towers High School in Decatur, Georgia, and she was like, listen, you should try this program out. Don't be idle this summer. So she spoke to my parents, who applied. I got accepted, and that changed the trajectory of my life, really, you know, and I ended up, you know, going to Morehouse for college. I didn't even apply to any other school because they already gave me a scholarship prior to me even finishing high school, because things went so well at that pre-summer science program. PSP is what they called it. And you know, along the way, there were other influencers in my life. There was a wrestling coach, and my parents didn't believe in sports, athletics. They were very...
So you are an athlete also?
Yes, but they were academic people. So me saying, hey, I want to play basketball or I want to wrestle, you know, that's nonsense to them. I didn't send you to school for that, you know. You know, and the funny thing is, a small little sidebar, my younger siblings, they allowed all of them to play sports, and they excelled in it.
Yeah, they practiced with you, then they applied the real game on them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, so, but a wrestling coach, so I used to sneak and to wrestling practice and go to the meets, and just said I had, like, you know, the bus was late or I had tutoring or something like that, just so I could still be on the team.
Right.
And I made it to the state finals and placed second. And that was my first year wrestling. And he said, you see, anything that you want to do and put your mind to, you can. But he instilled that work ethic, that endurance, that physical aspect of life. Right. You know, so I learned a lot of that from him. And along the way in college, there was this mentor. His name is Roland Boone. They call him the Duke of Buckhead. I don't know if you've ever been to Atlanta,
Yeah, I've been,
Georgia.
Buckhead.
So
yeah.
Buckhead,
It's actually, that's the stop before the last stop, or the last stop of the metro line.
actually, it's actually, yes, it's
Yeah.
one stop before
The
right,
last one,
right.
right.
So yeah, man, and so Mr. Roland Boone, he's just an academician, a lecturer, a professor.
Right.
So I used to just sit down and just listen to him for hours, and he enjoyed it to have somebody that will absorb all this knowledge. So you know, the core of me, I'm a nerd.
Right.
I love research. I love history. You know, just absorbing knowledge, and he laid it on me, and I soaked it up as a sponge. You know, and he was such a very well-dressed man too. So I emulated him a lot, you know, in the way that I put myself together. Although my parents did a good job as well, giving me that base and that foundation. But he gave me the reasons as to why this is done, and the final touches, like, you know, what makes a man.
Elevated your game.
Elevated my game to another status. You know, so those are some of the people that have been influential in my life, and I've taken pieces from, and they've stuck with me.
So what did you study at Morehouse?
So I studied biology. I was a pre-med major.
Okay.
And then I minored in business as well.
Okay.
So I had a knack for business. So I ended going into the business route of medicine.
Gotcha.
To professionally becoming directors of hospital systems, and also, you know, doing business development, so keeping those financial institutions profitable, and working alongside, you know, physicians and nurses to making sure that the cares of plans for the patients equates to a profitable margin while still giving great healthcare service, you know, to those that are in need. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, and you still practice that today. That's still part of your
So I
9 to 5.
I have a clinic, general practice.
Okay.
And there's a psych component to that as well.
Okay.
So yes, it's very much part of me and who I am today. Yes.
There you go. And let's go into our first break and take a look at a few images of some of the things that this great man is doing here in the diaspora. And of course, we all know that it's not just a one man's effort. There's a team behind him aside from the family. So we'll be right back. And we are back. If you just joined us, you're now tuned into the Diaspora Central Spotlight, and our guest today is SLEDGE. Yes, Neglakai.
Yeah,
Nula.
Nula. That Neglakai right there. That's a interesting person with it himself.
Yeah, that's is that your alter ego? Or SLEDGE is the altered ego?
No, so SLEDGE is my real name, my born given name. Okay. Neglakai was birthed out of a musical group that I was in.
Okay.
Called La Famille Royale, the Royal Family.
The Royal Family, yeah.
That's right. And so my name was Neglakai within the group, and Neglakai means man from home.
Right.
So, you know, if I am to be the voice of the people,
right,
you know, and also the name Neglakai was kind of given to me too by others within the community, because I represented the culture so well and diligently, and it always followed me. So it just made perfect sense. Yeah. So the full name is Neglakai Belbagai. So man from home does beautiful things.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you you have always been in that line then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you choose it or it chose you?
Music found me later. You know, I was always from elementary school, I was in the band. I played instruments. I could read music, write music. But it wasn't until my college years that I really found music for myself, you know, and I'm glad that my parents put me into that direction, but I had a natural knack for it. Yeah. And so yeah, I'm into all kinds of different genres of music.
Got you.
You know, from cultural, our cultural music, which is, you know, Haitian compa, zouk, you know, the kizumba, and gaga, you know, gabodai, you name it, you know. And then as a kid growing up in America, you know, then you have the hip hop, but my parents didn't let me listen to the secular music. You know, they were very Christian people, so I had to sneak and listen to the music, or when I was riding the school bus, my friends would let me listen to some of their, you know, CDs and stuff like that.
But you in Crown Heights, you right at the heart.
Man, the heart of everything.
Right.
But my parents didn't understand that. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be at church on Wednesday night.
There you go.
You know, at the prayer services on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings.
And there you go, listening to hip hop music.
Yeah, secular music, the devil's music, right? But they have a better appreciation and understanding now, you know, versus when they first came into the country. But nonetheless, I still found it myself.
And it's 50. I mean, they're talking about hip hop celebrating 50 years.
Oh man,
right? One of the things that you would probably say that hip hop gave you that will forever.
I will say that
stay with you.
I will say that what hip hop did for me was tie me to the Black American culture. Because until then, I really didn't really have a buy-in. I was Haitian,
right?
You know, but hip hop gave me that connection, bridged the gap, like Nas,
right?
You know, really, and the Roots and Wu-Tang, and you know, Common, Mos Def, Black Star, Talib Kweli, all those guys. You know, I was always more of a conscious type of person. You know, so yeah, it really made me appreciate the struggle, because these people told stories,
right?
You know, and in those stories, you're like,
they dropped science and
dropped
hip hop lingo, right?
Exactly. And also they gave me the verbiage of the streets, so I can, you know, now assimilate more to the American society that I was in. So it did a lot for me.
Your story is sort of similar to mine.
Okay.
Because I was actually the first African to attend the high school.
Oh, wow.
That I attended.
Where was this?
That was in Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah. That was in Maryland, in southern Maryland. And I attended Lackey High School. And believe it or not, at the beginning, I was just that African guy. Right? Everybody knew that African guy, the new guy, the African guy.
Yeah, I could relate to that.
Until one day, one of the guys that he wasn't really part of the football team, but he always hung with the football team. His name was Charles, and his brother's name is Garris. Garris actually, even now, he's a hip-hop artist. He still does hip-hop. So shout out to those two brothers right there. Charles comes out, and he always was like, sort of like always kind of became that dude that were like, you know, if someone was trying to bully me or put me in that spot, he would come in and kind of check and be like, yo, chill out for a second. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I always had a few friends like this. I mean, Charles was one of them. I have another one, Chip Kidd, Larry Kidd, Dean Bramall, then later on, Daryl Thomas. I mean, these are brothers who really, like, honestly, they protected me. But what I'm saying is, Charles, he's going into the football field and he says, yo, come on with me. Let's go chill at the bleachers. And I'm like, okay, I wasn't doing anything but sitting there in the library. I was like, okay, let me go. So we get to the bleachers. And he kind of like starts to bang this beat on the bleachers, and one of the guys that is also there, he kind of starts to rock, and I just picked up that beat and I started to.
Yeah.
And the vibe that came from there, it basically, really, that day, I became, in that school, to the rest of the other black folks, I became Gil.
Got you.
and not that African
That was
kid.
that moment.
There was that moment right there.
That was that
They were like,
moment.
you know what? And to me, that connected me actually to also that identity that I think we all search for when we get here.
Right.
Because we arrive here, although at home we have one identity. Outside of the house, we really lost. We're trying to figure out
It's
who we
true.
are and where we are.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I didn't even come to myself like until college, really. My roommate, his name was Jabril Willis. And Jabril, he's from Griffin, Georgia.
Right.
Just a country dude with a thick down south. You know how T.I. talks and all of that stuff. So that heavy Southern drawl, and I could not understand a word this guy was saying.
New language.
Man, I didn't even think he was speaking English.
That's actually, that's one of the surprises that most of us have when we come here. It's like we realize that even in English, it's almost like there are several dialects.
Yes.
And the English that we hear,
depending on what
overseas-
coast you from.
Exactly.
Right. So he, and then, he had Jordans, he had like the cool clothes. Me, my parents sent me to school with some slacks,
There you go.
some suits,
Yeah.
and some dress shoes.
That's how we go to school.
I didn't have nothing else.
I don't think I ever wore tennis shoes other than the time when my foot was actually broken and I was in a cast. I never wore tennis shoes to school.
Man, so even to play, I was still like in some loafers or some lace ups. But anyway, so Jabril was like, man, like, let's go play some basketball. I was like, well, I don't have no sneakers. He was like, okay, we wear similar. He was half size bigger than me in shoes, so he let me borrow a pair of Jordans. So that was my first time my feet stepped into some Jordans.
Wow.
And I felt like the man. But what I did for him, we helped each other, right? What I did for him, I taught him like, I propered him up, with the dressing and the stuff like that, and help him and expose him to culture, a different culture that he wasn't aware of, right? Food and everything. And then what he did for me, he gave me that like that down south southern hip hop finesse.
There you go.
that I was missing, because up until then I was just a nerd.
Right.
But I was always a cool nerd. Per se.
Indeed.
Yeah. So
I mean, look, success requires a little bit of nerdiness. You gotta be focused on some things.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, eventually, did you pledge?
No.
You didn't pledge?
No.
Yeah, I didn't pledge either.
Okay.
I went to Maryland University. I didn't pledge either. But,
okay.
Yeah. So let's moving on. You eventually have to leave Georgia for Houston, Texas. Is that your next step, or do you?
Yeah. So I left Georgia. I came to Houston, Texas, and Houston just provided this great landscape for a person that wanted to do something.
Right.
Because I think in other cities it's very competitive. Like for instance, in Atlanta, Georgia, I was one of many talented young black men.
Right.
Because that was the black Mecca.
Yeah, indeed.
But in Houston, I could make a way a little easier because it's just bigger.
Right.
It's vaster. Indeed. So the opportunities for you to advance yourself just was a little bit more rapid if you were focused.
Indeed.
And I came here focused and on a mission, and got into the hospital systems. And, the rest was history. But simultaneously, the earthquake happened in 2010 in Haiti. And I just felt a calling, very compelled to start doing some community work.
Right.
Because my parents, they always kept us within the community, but it was via the church.
Right.
But I felt like there was another calling for me to dive into the community and set a platform for us to grow each other, enhance and build one another up. Because I feel like, we see all these other communities growing so fast, and they're, doing well, businesses popping up here and there, and they're circulating their money within that said community. But we always had a difficulty doing that. And I really didn't understand why. But anyways, the earthquake, I saw how the community could come together behind a cause.
Right.
So at that moment, I felt like it was very possible.
Okay.
You know, so that's when I kind of laid music aside, and then now use my voice and my talents in another way.
Right.
Yeah, created another platform.
Yeah, because I mean, you are definitely considered one of the social innovators of the diaspora, right? There are several organizations, institutions, and initiatives out there that you actually started. So let's try to go through them with a little brief summary of each one of them, for the ones that you can remember or that you can share publicly.
Yeah. So I have Houston Haitians United. So that is specifically dealing with the Haitian community here in Houston. And there's so many Haitians moving to Houston at a very rapid pace, and being that central point to where we can now move together as a unit, or even being a source of information to help and be a vessel to help change come about for the community and impacting lives there. And then, you know, there's things that came up like the crisis at the border when Haitians, they came Del Rio. It was like, I think at least 10 or 20,000 Haitians that was there at the border.
Right.
So my organization was very instrumental in helping our brothers and sisters as they were getting to their next step in the process, because they traveled from many countries on foot.
Right.
You know, some of their journeys was like 3 months. People died on the road.
Oh, man.
Children died. You know, some of them were hustled out of their savings to even come on that trip. So they were stuck in no man's land.
Right.
And we would come across these stories, and what my organization was able to do was make sure that everyone that was able to find us, that we made a way to help them get to the next step.
There you go.
And connect them with family, connect them with work, housing, clothing, food, airline tickets, whatever it took, because they took that leap of faith to find a better way for themselves. And so the least that we can do from the comforts of our homes was to give and assist the best that we can. And the only way, the best way that we saw fit was lending our resources and leveraging our voices to bring the story to the world. So that's Houston Haitians United. We have Houston Caribbean Professional Association, and that organization is a group of professionals, young professionals that are coming together behind a common cause of giving out scholarships to those that are in need, because within the Caribbean community, education, you know, is a staple. You know, our parents pushed that upon us very much.
In the immigrant community.
In the immigrant community,
that's really what we call now today, what they now coining as emigres. Which is the highest level of success for an immigrant. Emigres.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like that. I'm going to start using that. You dropped some knowledge on me right now. And then so then the schools that we help and the orphanages back in the Caribbean is also one of our staples. So from orphanages and schools in Haiti to St. Kitts, St. Vincent, Jamaica, Antigua. So and I believe we're going to be taking on a school in Dominica as well. And we raise money throughout the year via our different fundraisers, our galas, networking mixers. So we leverage everything that we do to the benefit of our causes, which is helping these schools and orphanages back in the Caribbean, and also giving scholarships here within the States to help push and advance. So the power of the network.
Indeed.
And then one more thing that I've involved myself in here lately is I'm also the chair of Houston Morehouse Alumni Association in the city. And sending young black men to school is one of the most important things for us.
Indeed.
We do a annual Father's Day gala that raises a lot of money that we can give out scholarships to, and we also do monthly mixers so that way we can network with one another, so we know how we can help advance each other, in our own individual causes, whether you're running for a political office or you have a new business or what have you, to be able to really build and support our brothers up. And then, of course, you already know about the activism. We spoke about that.
Yes, indeed.
So come to think of it, now that I articulate, it's actually a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And you forgot actually one main one, also one good one that entertains a lot of people on a monthly basis. And
Yes. So Dance Fever.
Yeah.
Dance Fever every last Friday of the month. Right now we're at Henke and Pilot downtown, very lovely location. And we have different themes every month. But reason why Dance Fever was started, because culturally we wanted to, have a space to where we can interact with each other, but on the dance floor.
Gotcha.
With music that we grew up on, listening to, although there's new music being produced all the time, but within that genre, from the zouk, the compa, the kizumba.
Bring a bit of authenticity to what is becoming now the universal diaspora.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Dance Fever, and it's an experience. It's not just a party. So, hey, what are you doing? I'm going out tonight. Versus, hey, what are you doing? I'm going to Dance Fever. So that's something that we're very proud of, and being very hospitable and true and appreciating everybody that comes through the doors, is something that, stays with us, because even that is an act of service too, because we're giving culture. We're giving that away, for you to be able to experience that and just cherish it. There's a brand that I have called Gentleman Noir. Gentleman Noir is the lifestyle of the gentleman. You would fit very well within that brand. Thank you. Absolutely. So
I think I just got an offer here to represent a brand. Excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, listen, exactly. So Gentleman Noir, that man represents achievement at the highest level, and also represents the community that he's in. He's an example, strives to be an example. Of course, we're all not without flaws, but you learn from those things and put more good out, and balance those things of life. And so Gentleman Noir, we are here to be that beacon, for the minority man, that perspective of what that life looks like.
There you go.
From the artistic creations to fashion, to education, the search of knowledge, make the well-rounded man.
Yeah, the power of representation is always important, right?
Absolutely.
Because if we see it, we know that we can achieve it.
Absolutely.
Right? And sometimes for those of us who are visionaries, we don't see it, but we try to elaborate or at least express it somehow in order to allow others to see what we envision or whatever vision is be given to us.
Yeah.
Is there anything that the community can do to assist any of the efforts that you guys are currently doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the organizations that I am a part of, you have to follow us to know what it is that we're doing. And of course, we'll make sure that we get that information to them. But just supporting those acts of services that we're doing. So any event that we're doing, don't think we're just doing the event for our own pockets, just to be throwing an event. We're doing it so that we can fund, a good and worthy cause. So that's one way immediately that anybody can support. And I think, A, you get an experience, something different. And then B, your resources are going to a good cause.
There you go.
Yeah.
So in other words, get involved. give whatever you're able to give. And social media, if they have to follow you guys, where would that be?
So with Houston Haitians United is at HH United 1804.
Okay.
That's on Facebook as well as IG.
Okay.
And Houston Caribbean Professional Association is at HCPA SSOC
Okay.
on all platforms.
Okay.
And then, of course, I am at Neglakai, Neglakay, Bell by Guy, but I'm sure you'll make sure they get that. And then last one is Gentleman Noir.
Okay.
So, and then, of course, well, that wasn't the last one. And then we have at Dance Fever Experience. So we'll tag all those things.
Yeah, definitely. And also, in case they don't see any of that, they can always come to Diaspora Central, because we will make sure that we also do put those in there so that they actually can and let's do something, some kind of work to really unpack some of those things a little bit more, maybe,
because it's a lot
in writing. It is a lot. And what I really want to say is that we can also unpack some of those things in writing, because there's still plenty of members of our community that prefer the written communication, and we can probably also help spread that really through not just Diaspora Central, but also other initiatives that we have. Of course, you guys are also members of the SED Institute family, right? And that allows us to even propagate more into the African diaspora community, which really entails all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would say, man, you took words out of my mouth, because now I'm really feeling like I'm part of Gentleman Noir.
You are.
Right?
You are a gentleman.
I always
indeed.
felt noir, but I and I always felt gentleman, but I never put the two of them together now to definitely
you walk
make
the walk
sense.
and talk the talk, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
SLEDGE Leonidas
Yes.
in the building. Listen, it's been a pleasure, man. Consider Diaspora Central home for you at any point in time. If there's anything that we can do for you, do not ever hesitate to ask us to get engaged or involved, and we will definitely do what we can to assist.
I appreciate that, man. And I'm here for you too. It's mutually beneficial.
Thank you.
Right. Life should never be one-sided.
Thank you. No, definitely,
Yes.
man. Definitely. I mean, there's the initiative that is coming up in November, which is a big initiative. We actually have to engage you a little bit more into it, which is the Balumuka Fest.
Okay.
Right. So Balumuka means to elevate, right? To raise the bar, to increase the energy. The good energy, to increase the good energy. That's what Balumuka stands for. So, and what we're doing with this festival is really trying to bring also that authenticity of what the Angolan partying environment is into Kizomba. So, in other words, we trying to take what Noita Dipanda, what then one party festival, or that festival of three parties was, into a cultural experience that now will allow us to promote, propagate culture.
Okay.
Right, from an Angolan perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Indeed. Yeah.
I like that.
And so I'll definitely get you, I guess, more engaged into it. And I mean, we come across in a lot of ways and platforms.
Absolutely.
And honestly, listen, I think we brothers now, and we definitely join at the hip.
For sure.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming by, man, and sharing a portion of your journey with us. And I invite you to come back whenever you find time in your schedule to do so.
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Yes, sir. I'm Gentleman Noir.
There we go.
And for those of you that took time out of your busy schedules to join us today, I would simply say the following. Remember, go for what your right instinct and the purest form of energy of you tells you to go. Don't limit yourself. Aspire for the most that you can. Until next time, peace.